A group of ex-casino dealers just broke their silence about which table games are designed to drain your bankroll the fastest. What they're revealing about these 11 specific games could save you thousands of dollars. And the casinos are furious this information is getting out. By the end of this script, you'll know exactly which games to walk past and why the odds are even worse than you thought. Let's dive into the games that casino insiders say you should avoid at all costs. Caribbean stud poker sits at almost every major casino, usually positioned near the main entrance where it catches the eye of poker players looking for something familiar. The game looks simple enough. You're playing against the dealer, trying to make a better 5-card poker hand. But according to dealers who've worked these tables for years, this game has one of the highest house edges on the casino floor. The house edge on Caribbean Stud hovers around 5.2%, which is absolutely brutal compared to other table games. But what makes this game particularly dangerous is the progressive jackpot side bet that sits right there on the table, tempting you with its enormous payout. Dealers explain that most players can't resist throwing down that extra dollar for a shot at the progressive. The problem is that the side bet carries a house edge of around 26%. That means for every dollar you bet on that progressive, you're giving the casino 26 cents on average. It's one of the worst bets in the entire casino. One dealer from Atlantic City shared a story about a regular named Tom who played Caribbean Stud every Friday night for nearly 3 years. Tom was convinced he understood poker strategy and could beat the game. He'd studied optimal play, knew when to fold, when to raise, everything by the book. But here's the thing, even with perfect strategy, that 5.2% house edge means you're losing money over time. After 3 years, Tom calculated his total losses and realized he was down approximately $35,000. He'd been playing what he thought was good poker, but the game's structure made it virtually impossible to win long-term. What really bothers dealers about Caribbean Stud is how it attracts poker players who think their skill matters. These players believe they can outplay the dealer or that their poker knowledge gives them an edge. The reality is that Caribbean Stud is a game of pure chance with terrible odds, dressed up to look like a skill game. The dealers say that if you want to play poker in a casino, stick to the poker room where you're playing against other people, not the house. At least there, your skill actually matters, and you're not fighting an impossible house edge. Walk into almost any casino and you'll find keno lounges with comfortable seats, free drinks, and screens showing number draws every few minutes. It looks like a relaxing way to gamble, almost like playing the lottery while sitting in a cushy chair. But dealers and casino staff will tell you that Keno has some of the worst odds of any game in the building. The house edge on Keno typically ranges from 25% to 40%, depending on the casino and the specific bet you make. Let that sink in. The casino is keeping up to 40 cents of every dollar you wager. It's mathematical robbery disguised as entertainment. The game works simply enough. You pick numbers from 1 to 80, then the casino draws 20 numbers. If enough of your numbers match, you win. The payouts can be huge if you hit a lot of numbers, which is exactly what keeps people playing. Casino staff explained that the massive payouts for hitting multiple numbers create a lottery-style mentality. Players think about that one time someone hit 10 out of 10 numbers and won $100,000. What they don't think about are the thousands of tickets that lose before anyone hits a big win. One dealer who worked near the Keno Lounge for years observed a woman named Patricia who played Keno almost daily. Patricia would come in around noon, order lunch, and play Keno for 3 to 4 hours while she ate and relaxed. She seemed to view it as her daily entertainment. Over the course of about 5 years, casino staff estimated Patricia was playing Keno roughly 250 days per year, probably betting around $100 per session. That's $25,000 per year going into a game with a 30% house edge. Over 5 years, she likely lost somewhere in the neighborhood of $37,500. The worst part is that Patricia genuinely seemed happy. She had a routine, she enjoyed the atmosphere, she liked picking her lucky numbers. She probably didn't even realize how much money she was losing because it happened slowly, $100 at a time, spread across thousands of games. Staff members say Keno is particularly dangerous because it feels safe and slow-paced. You're not standing at a table with other players watching you. You're just sitting in a comfortable chair, sipping a drink, picking numbers. It doesn't feel like hardcore gambling, which makes the terrible odds easier to ignore. If you want to play a lottery-style game, dealers say you're better off buying actual lottery tickets. At least those often contribute to state education funds or other public services. Keno just funnels money straight to the casino at an alarming rate. The big colorful wheel catches your eye the moment you walk past it. It's usually positioned in a high-traffic area, spinning slowly, displaying all those exciting monetary values. It looks fun, casual, almost like a game show. But dealers will tell you that Wheel of Fortune, sometimes called the Big Six Wheel or Money Wheel, is one of the biggest sucker bets on the casino floor. The house edge on Wheel of Fortune varies depending on which space you bet on, but it ranges from about 11% to over 24%. The high-paying spaces like the logo or jackpot symbol can have a house edge exceeding 24%, which is absolutely outrageous for a table game. The game is absurdly simple. You place a bet on one of the spaces marked on the table. The dealer spins the wheel. If it lands on your space, you win. That's it. There's no strategy, no skill, no decisions to make. Just pure chance with terrible odds. Dealers explain that Wheel of Fortune attracts two types of players. First, complete beginners who are intimidated by other table games and think the wheel looks easy and non-threatening. Second, drunk people who are walking by and impulsively throw down a bet because the wheel looks fun. One dealer from Las Vegas shared a story about a bachelor party that came through. The group was already pretty drunk when they found the Wheel of Fortune. They thought it would be hilarious to bet on the logo space, which typically pays 40 to 1 or 45 to 1. The group pooled together $500 and put it all on the logo. The dealer spun the wheel, and by some miracle, it actually hit. The group went absolutely insane, collected their $20,000 or so, and ran off screaming and celebrating. But here's what casino staff observed. That same group continued gambling for the next 6 hours. They hit various table games, slots, and the sports book. By the end of the night, surveillance and player tracking data showed the group had lost approximately $35,000. They'd won big on the wheel, but gave it all back, and then some, because they thought they were on a lucky streak. Dealers say this happens constantly with Wheel of Fortune. Someone hits a big number, gets a massive dose of excitement and confidence, and then proceeds to donate all that money back to the casino over the next few hours. The staff consensus on Wheel of Fortune is simple. It exists to attract tourists and drunk people who don't know any better. Anyone who understands casino odds wouldn't go near it. The house edge is inexcusably high, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to improve your chances. Three-card poker has become increasingly popular over the past couple of decades. It's positioned as a fast-paced, exciting alternative to regular poker, and the game does move quickly. But dealers who've worked these tables extensively warn that the side bets make this game a financial trap. The base game of three-card poker, where you're trying to beat the dealer's hand, has a house edge of around 3.4% with optimal play. That's not great, But it's not the worst game on the floor. The problem is that almost nobody plays just the base game. The game offers two side bets, the pair plus bet and the ante bonus. The pair plus bet pays if you get a pair or better, regardless of whether you beat the dealer. This bet has a house edge around 7.3%. That's more than double the base game. But here's where it gets really problematic. The highest payouts on Pair Plus are for straight flushes and three of a kind. These hands are rare, really rare. You might play for hours and never see one. But the payout schedule makes them look so attractive that most players can't resist betting on them. Dealers observe that the typical three-card poker player will bet on both the ante and pair plus on almost every hand. They're essentially playing two separate bets, one with a 3.4% house edge and one with a 7.3% house edge on the same hand. The combined drain on their bankroll is significant. One dealer from a Native American casino shared observations about a couple who played three-card poker together every Saturday night for about 2 years. They'd sit side by side, order drinks, and play for 3 to 4 hours. They always bet the minimum on the ante and maximum on the pair plus because they were chasing those big payouts for rare hands. Over 2 years, with player tracking data showing roughly 100 sessions at about $400 per session, the couple put approximately $40,000 through the table. With the combined house edge they were facing, they probably lost somewhere around $1,500 to $3,000 of that. The dealers say what makes three-card poker particularly effective at draining money is the pace. Hands resolve quickly, you're constantly betting, and the side bets create this feeling that you're always one hand away from a big score. That psychological hook keeps people playing long after they should have walked away. If you're going to play three-card poker, dealers recommend betting only the ante and ignoring the side bets entirely. You'll still face a house edge, but at least you won't be betting on rare hands that almost never come. Let It Ride was designed as a more relaxed poker variant where you're not playing against the dealer or other players. You're just trying to make a good poker hand from 3 cards you're dealt plus 2 community cards. It sounds casual and low pressure, which is exactly the problem according to dealers. The house edge on Let It Ride sits at around 3.5%, which puts it in the mid-range of table games. Not the worst, but definitely not good. What makes this game dangerous is the betting structure and how it manipulates player psychology. You start by placing 3 equal bets. As cards are revealed, you have the option to pull back 1 or 2 of your bets if you don't like your hand. Sounds player-friendly, right? The problem is that the game is designed so that the optimal strategy has you pulling back your bets most of the time. Dealers explain that players sit down thinking they'll build big hands and let it ride on all 3 bets, winning huge payouts. In reality, you're pulling back bets constantly, which makes the game feel frustrating and defensive rather than exciting. What really bothers casino staff about Let It Ride is the bonus bet. There's always a side bet option, usually $1, that pays based on your final hand regardless of whether you win the main game. This bonus bet has a house edge around 25%, which is atrocious. But here's the psychological trap. The bonus bet pays huge money for rare hands like royal flushes and straight flushes. We're talking payouts of thousands to 1. Players see that payout table and can't resist throwing down that dollar every hand. One dealer from Reno shared a story about a retired man named George who played Let It Ride every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon for close to 3 years. George always played the bonus bet, always that extra dollar every single hand, because he dreamed of hitting a royal flush. George probably played roughly 5,000 hands over those 3 years. That's $5,000 on the bonus bet alone. The bonus bet has a 25% house edge, which means George probably lost around $1,250 just from that $1 side bet, and that's not even counting his main game losses. The dealers say George never hit his royal flush. He hit a straight flush once and won a decent payout, maybe $500, which kept him motivated. But overall, he was feeding money into that bonus bet hand after hand, session after session, chasing a payout that never came. Staff members warn that Let It Ride is deceptive because it feels relaxed and low stakes. The pace is slower than other games. You're sitting down, you can pull bets back. It doesn't feel like you're gambling hard. But that house edge is working against you on every hand, and the bonus bet is just pouring money away. Casino War might be the simplest game in the casino. You and the dealer each get one card. High card wins. Ties go to war where you double your bet and try again. It's literally a children's card game turned into a casino game, and that simplicity hides how bad the odds actually are. The house edge on Casino War is around 2.9%, which actually isn't terrible compared to some games on this list. But the problem, according to dealers, is what happens during the war scenario and how the tie bet destroys players. When you tie with the dealer, you have two options: surrender and lose half your bet, or go to war by matching your original bet. Most players go to war because surrendering feels like giving up. But here's the thing, going to war doesn't actually give you good odds. You're doubling your money at risk for essentially another coin flip. The real killer is the tie bet. There's always a side bet option that pays 10 to 1 if you tie with the dealer. Sounds attractive, right? Wrong. The house edge on the tie bet is approximately 18.6%. That's horrible. Dealers observe that many Casino War players, especially beginners and tourists, can't resist betting on ties. They see that 10 to 1 payout and think it's worth a shot. They'll throw $5 or $10 on the tie bet every hand alongside their main bet. One dealer from a casino near a major convention center shared observations about business travelers who would play Casino War during lunch breaks or after conferences. These were usually people who weren't serious gamblers, just looking to kill time and have a little fun. One particular businessman played Casino War almost every day for a week during a conference. He'd play for about 30 to 45 minutes, betting $25 on the main game and $10 on the tie bet every hand. The dealer estimated he was getting through maybe 60 to 80 hands per session. Over 5 sessions, this man probably bet around $3,000 on the tie bet alone. With an 18.6% house edge, he likely lost about $560 just from that side bet, not even counting his main game losses. When he left at the end of the week, he seemed cheerful and didn't appear to realize how much money he'd actually lost. Casino staff warn that Casino War is particularly dangerous because it feels so simple and friendly. There's no strategy to learn, no complicated rules, just high card wins. People treat it casually, which makes them less careful about their betting and more likely to make sucker bets like the tie. If you're going to play Casino War for some reason, dealers say never bet on the tie. It's one of the worst bets in the casino. Just play the main game, accept that you're facing a house edge, and set strict limits. Roulette is iconic. The spinning wheel, the bouncing ball, the excitement as it settles into a pocket. It looks elegant and sophisticated. But dealers want you to understand something crucial. American roulette with the double zero is significantly worse than European roulette with a single zero, and most players don't realize the difference. American roulette has 38 pockets, numbers 1 through 36, plus 0 and 00. European roulette has 37 pockets, numbers 1 through 36, plus a single 0. That one extra pocket makes a huge difference in the house edge. American roulette has a house edge of 5.26% on almost every bet. European roulette has a house edge of 2.70%. You're giving up nearly twice as much to the house by playing the American version, and most casual players have no idea. Dealers explain that many casinos in the United States only offer American roulette, so players don't even have a choice. But if you're in a casino that offers both versions, you should always choose European. There's absolutely no reason to play American unless you simply don't know better. But here's where American roulette gets even worse. There's a specific bet called the basket bet or five-number bet where you bet on euro, 00, 1, 2, and 3. This bet has a house edge of 7.89%. It's literally the worst bet on the roulette table. One dealer from Las Vegas shared a story about a woman named Diana who had a system for roulette. She'd been reading gambling books and watching videos, and she was convinced she'd found a pattern in how numbers hit. Diana would sit at the roulette table for hours, tracking numbers on a notepad, calculating which numbers were due to hit. She'd developed this elaborate betting system where she'd increase her bets on certain numbers based on what had hit recently. The dealer watched Diana play probably 100 sessions over the course of a year. She was a regular, always friendly, always convinced her system was working. But player tracking data showed that over that year, Diana lost approximately $18,000 playing roulette. Here's the thing that dealers want people to understand. There is no system for roulette. Every spin is independent. The ball has no memory. Past results don't influence future spins. The house edge grinds you down over time, and no betting system can overcome it. Staff members say roulette is particularly effective at attracting system players who think they've found a way to beat the game. These players will track numbers, look for patterns, adjust their bets based on previous results, all while the math is working against them on every single spin. If you want to play roulette for entertainment, dealers recommend finding a casino that offers European roulette with the single zero, and never ever make the five-number basket bet on American roulette. It's literally throwing money away. Now here's where things get interesting. Craps itself can actually be one of the best games in the casino if you stick to the right bets. The pass line and don't pass bets have a house edge under 1.5%, and if you take odds behind them, you can get the house edge even lower. But dealers say that's not how most people play craps. The craps table is covered in proposition bets in the middle of the layout. These are the bets the stickman calls out, the bets that pay big money, the bets that create excitement when they hit. These bets are also absolute garbage in terms of odds. The Any 7 bet has a house edge of 16.67%. The Any Craps bet sits around 11.1%. The Hardways bets range from about 9% to 11%. These are terrible odds. And yet, dealers watch players throw money at these bets constantly. What makes the proposition bet so dangerous is the social aspect of craps. When someone hits a Hardway or Any 7, the whole table erupts. People cheer, the stickman celebrates. There's this collective excitement. That social reinforcement makes players want to bet those props so they can be part of the celebration. One dealer who worked craps tables for over a decade shared observations about a group of friends who came in every Friday night. They'd always play together, standing shoulder to shoulder at the table, having a great time. They were betting pass line, which was smart, but they were also constantly throwing out proposition bets. Every few rolls, one of them would toss chips to the center and call out hard 8 or Any Craps or Yo 11. These weren't big bets, usually $5 to $10, but they were doing it constantly throughout their session. Over the course of a year, this group probably played 50 Friday nights, each session running 3 to 4 hours. The dealer estimated they were collectively betting maybe $500 per session on proposition bets. With house edges ranging from 9% to 16%, that group was probably losing around $5,000 per year just on prop bets. The frustrating thing for dealers is that these guys could have played craps intelligently. If they'd stuck to pass line with odds, they'd face one of the lowest house edges in the casino. Instead, they were constantly bleeding money on sucker bets, because those bets were exciting and got reactions from the table. Casino staff say that craps can be great if you're disciplined, but the proposition bets turn it into a money pit. Stick to pass or don't pass with odds. Avoid the center of the table entirely. Those prop bets are designed to look exciting while draining your bankroll at an alarming rate. Baccarat is often marketed as a sophisticated high roller game. You see it in James Bond movies, played by wealthy people in tuxedos. The reality is that Baccarat is incredibly simple, and it's actually not a bad game odds-wise if you bet correctly. But dealers warn that most players get sucked into terrible bets. There are three main bets in Baccarat: player, banker, and tie. The banker bet has a house edge of about 1.6%, which is excellent. The player bet has a house edge around 1.24%, which is also pretty good. Then there's the tie bet. The tie bet typically pays 8 to 1 or sometimes 9 to 1. It sounds attractive, but the house edge is approximately 14.4%. That's absolutely terrible. And yet, dealers watch players bet on ties constantly because that payout looks so appealing. But here's something else that bothers casino staff about Baccarat. Some casinos offer what's called commission-free Baccarat, where you don't pay the usual 5% commission on winning banker bets. Sounds great, right? The catch is that when the banker wins with a total of 6, you only get paid 50% of your bet instead of even money. This rule change actually increases the house edge on the banker bet from 1.06% to about 1.46%. It's not a huge increase, but it's deceptive marketing. The casino is presenting this as a player-friendly variation when it's actually slightly worse for you. One dealer from a high-limit room shared a story about a businessman from overseas who played Baccarat almost every time he was in town. This man would play for hours, usually betting $500 to $1,000 per hand. He understood that banker was the smart bet, so that's mostly what he played. But every 10 or 15 hands, he'd get a feeling and drop a big bet on tie. Maybe $1,000 or $1,500. He'd say something about patterns or energy or just having a sense that a tie was coming. Over the course of maybe 30 sessions, the dealer observed this man bet on tie probably 50 to 60 times. With $1,000 average bets on tie, that's $50,000 to $60,000 wagered at a 14.4% house edge. This man probably lost around $7,000 to $8,000 just from those tie bets, not counting his main game losses. And he kept doing it session after session because occasionally he'd hit one and win $8,000 or $9,000, which reinforced the behavior. Dealers say Baccarat would be a perfectly decent game if people just bet banker every time and ignored everything else. The house edge is low, the game moves at a reasonable pace, it's simple to play. But the tie bet is sitting right there on the layout, tempting people with that juicy payout, destroying their long-term results. Before we get to the absolute worst game that dealers say you should never play, we need to talk about slot machines. Now, dealers don't directly deal slots, but they work alongside slot technicians and observe slot players every day. And their consensus is clear. Modern slot machines are designed to be more psychologically manipulative than ever before. House edges on slot machines vary wildly depending on the casino, the specific machine, and the denomination. Penny slots might have house edges of 10% to 15%. Dollar slots might be around 4% to 8%. But the average is probably somewhere around 8% to 10%, which is significantly worse than most table games. What casino staff find most problematic about modern slots is how they're engineered to keep you playing. The near misses, where symbols land just above or below the pay line. The frequent small wins that pay less than your bet but still trigger celebrations. The bonus features that hit regularly but rarely pay well. Dealers observe slot players falling into what they call the slot machine trance. Players sit there pressing the button over and over, barely moving, barely reacting, just feeding money into the machine in a zombie-like state. The lights, sounds, and frequent action create a hypnotic effect that makes hours pass without the player realizing it. One dealer shared observations about a woman who played penny slots every single day for years. She'd arrive around 10 a.m., play until 2 or 3 p.m., take a break for dinner, then play until closing. She was there 7 days a week, always at the same bank of machines. Staff members estimate this woman was betting maybe $100 to $150 per session, sometimes more. Over years of daily play, she'd probably put several $100,000 through those machines. With a 10% house edge, she'd lost tens of thousands of dollars. The heartbreaking part is that she seemed to view it as her social life. She knew other regulars, chatted with staff, treated the casino like her daily hangout. She might not have even realized how much money she was losing because it happened slowly, $100 or $150 at a time, spread across thousands of sessions. Casino staff say modern slots are dangerous because they don't feel dangerous. You're sitting down, pressing a button, seeing animations, hearing sounds. It feels casual. But the house edge is working against you on every single spin, and the game is specifically designed to keep you engaged through psychological manipulation. If you're going to play slots, dealers recommend setting a strict budget, using a timer, and walking away after a certain amount of time regardless of whether you're winning or losing. The machines are designed to keep you playing, so you need external discipline to protect yourself. Here we are at the worst game that casino dealers say you should absolutely never play, 6-5, Blackjack. This is the game that makes dealers genuinely angry because it takes what should be one of the best games in the casino and turns it into a complete ripoff through one simple rule change. Traditional blackjack pays 3.2 for a blackjack. If you bet $10 and get a natural blackjack, you win $15. Simple. But over the past couple of decades, casinos have introduced 6-5 blackjack tables, where a natural blackjack pays only $6 for every $5 bet. If you bet $10 and get a blackjack, you win $12 instead of $15. That might not sound like a big deal, but that rule change increases the house edge by approximately 1.4%. A standard blackjack game with decent rules might have a house edge around 0.5%. A 6-5 blackjack game jumps to around 1.9% or higher. Dealers hate dealing 6-5 blackjack because they watch players sit down without realizing they're playing a worse game. The tables look the same, the cards are the same, but that one rule change is costing players a massive amount of money. What makes this particularly insidious is that casinos often place 6.5 blackjack tables in high-traffic areas with low minimum bets. They'll have a $10 minimum 6-5 table right near the entrance, while the 3-2 tables with decent rules are in the back of the casino with $25 or $50 minimums. Casual players and tourists see that $10 table, sit down, and start playing without ever noticing the 6-5 payout. They just lost a huge chunk of their potential winnings, and they don't even know it. One dealer shared a story about a group of college kids who came in for a friend's 21st birthday. They found a blackjack table with a $10 minimum and sat down to play. The dealer tried to explain that it was a 6-5 table and they'd be better off finding a 3-2 game, but the kids didn't understand the difference and thought the dealer was just being confusing. The group played for about 3 hours. They had fun, they won some hands, they lost some hands. But because of that 6-5 rule, they lost approximately 1.4% more than they would have at a 3-2 table. Over 3 hours of play with their bet sizing, that probably cost them an extra $100 to $150 collectively. The kids never realized it. They left thinking they'd had a great time playing blackjack, not knowing they'd been playing a game with significantly worse odds than they should have been. Dealers say 6-5. Blackjack represents everything wrong with modern casino gaming. It's taking advantage of players who don't know any better. It's disguising a worse game as a standard game. And it's spreading across casino floors because it makes the casinos more money. The staff consensus is unanimous. Never, ever play 6-5 blackjack. Always check the payout for a natural blackjack before you sit down. If it's not 3-2, find a different table. If the casino doesn't offer 3-2 blackjack at limits you can afford, play a different game or go to a different casino. 6-5. Blackjack takes what should be one of the fairest games in the casino and turns it into a game with a house edge comparable to roulette. It's a complete scam, and dealers are frustrated that casinos keep pushing it on uninformed players. So there you have it. 11 games that casino dealers say you should avoid at all costs. The common thread running through all of them is that they either have high house edges, deceptive rules, psychological manipulation, or some combination of all three. The dealers who shared these insights all emphasized the same basic advice. Understand the odds before you play, set strict limits, never chase losses, and remember that every game in the casino has a house edge working against you. If you're gambling for entertainment, that's fine, but go in with your eyes open about what you're really facing. Subscribe for more insider casino information that the industry doesn't want you to know.